Hello and welcome to another episode of Adam's Kitchen on Trust TV. I am Adam Mani Angora, your host. In this program, where we learn together how to prepare some dishes or menus, whether internationally recognized ones or local dishes. In today's episode, I am going to demonstrate how to prepare a kind of stew which is to be served with coconut rice. Until then, we will be right back. Welcome back. So before we start anything, let me show you the ingredients needed for this recipe. Of course, we are going to need rice and water, and then we are going to make use of some cloves, some cardamom. We are also going to use beef for our stew, and also red pepper, which is already been blended. We are also going to use medium desiccated coconut, onions, ginger, garlic, tomatoes, oil, seasoning, and some salt. So let us get started. First of all, let me put this my pot aside. I'll bring it later when I am ready to begin cooking the rice. Now, let's take our beef first. Before anything, we will apply some oil into the pan, but of course, I need to put my fire on and then place my pan gently. So, this is my oil, and I'm going to pour it to desired amount, and I will allow this oil to get hot before I add my beef inside of the pan. So I keep some of the oil in case I need it later. I can add. Now my pan is on fire with oil inside. Then I will now grab my second pot and I place it here gently and then start my fire. You can see my onions already blended, my pepper blended. This blended pepper is actually the hero in this stew, which is why you see plenty of it. And the second hero is of course going to be the onions. So while my pot is on fire, I will go ahead and pour my blended pepper, all of it, inside of the pot. Then I will grab my onions. So you can see the quantity of the onions is somehow close to the quantity of the pepper. In this situation, I would like to make it half of the quantity of the pepper. So I am dividing the blended onions into 2 equal halves, and then I will add it here because I still want that red color of the pepper to show on the finished stew. So I wouldn't want to put too much onions that can take away the color. The next item that I'm going to add is, of course, tomato. In this recipe, tomato actually is not necessary. But the idea behind adding the tomato is to reduce to some extent the heat of the pepper. Now, the next thing that I'm going to add will be my yellow pepper. I love using yellow pepper because of its unique taste and fragrance. Now, the next item, of course, is going to be the ginger, which I also am going to pour all of it inside of the pot. So let me check my oil. My oil is getting hot. Still not time yet to add the beef. Now, next in the list is, of course, my blended garlic. Very, very good for health, very good for fragrance, for taste. It actually makes your food to taste absolutely delicious. And this is spring onions. Someone might think, how come spring onion is looking white? This is because I removed the chives. Chives are the green part of those green leaves that are attached to the spring onions. So I did remove them because I do not need them in this recipe. So I'm going ahead to add my blended spring onions. Now, having done that, the next thing that I'm going to do is, of course, to find my cover and then cover the pot. I will allow this mixture of ingredients to boil and continue to boil until the water content within it is being reduced significantly. I want most of the water to evaporate while the items get cooked. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is to check my oil, if it is hot enough for me to add the beef inside. So it's still looking good, and I guess not time yet to add the beef. And of course, my medium desiccated coconut is still there waiting. It's not time to use it yet. My cloves and cardamom, seasoning, salt, a bit later I'll come back to them. So now the oil is getting hot and is actually getting ready to receive our beef. And let us put the first cut and see the response. Well, the response is good. We can now go ahead and pour all of it inside, and then we give it a stir, to submerge into the oil, and then we allow it to fry. At this actually point, I can now add some salt to it. You can see now things are getting good. Okay, and of course we'll come to the rice much later. So as you can see that our meat is getting fried. I know at first when it was getting cooked inside of the oil, it was actually not getting fried because of the amount of water that was coming out of the meat. So it's kind of getting cooked. As soon as the water escaped, evaporates from the pan, then it begins to get fried. So we actually threw one stone to hit two birds. We get our meat cooked, but at the same time we get it fried inside of the same pan. And another thing that helps really in getting it fried much faster is when you are stirring it. You are giving it a stir gently and slowly, because the water content, water is usually heavier than oil, so water goes down into the pan, and then as the oil is getting hot, the water needs space to escape. If care is not taken, it will explode and it will burn your body. But if you are doing something like this, stirring it, you are now creating much more space for the water to come up and then to get burnt and then to escape, to evaporate. So this is it. Then at this point, let me check our mixture of this, things. See, making progress, getting cooked really, really well. What we need is now for the water to reduce, significantly, which is now why I will leave part of the pot open so that the water can escape much faster. Something really important to note here is that I did mention that this stew used to last for 2 weeks or more, or even a month without getting spoiled, right? There are 3 key secrets to this. Number 1 secret is that when blending your pepper, your tomatoes, and so on, you try to use a very little amount or none of water. For me, in this case, because I was using blender, in some situations, even though I have part of the blender that doesn't need any water, but I reluctantly didn't use that part. So I used part of the blender that needs some water. So I had to add water in order to blend these things. That's why I have some amount of water that is a bit much. But if you are using bigger blending machine, some don't even use water at all, not even drop, because you need to fry this really well. So that water, avoiding too much water in the stew is one of the key things that make this stew last longer before it gets spoiled. Second is that when you fry it, it gets fried really well, meaning that water is not there. Even if it is there, it's absolutely insignificant to make it spoil faster. These are 2 key ways to getting your stew last longer. And then the third item, or the third secret, is when serving this stew. When you get your stew done and then you are serving it to eat with your food, the scoop or the spoon that you put inside of the stew, to serve, make sure it is absolutely dry. It does not have any amount or content of water, any moisture or whatsoever. Because if you do use any spoon other than this, it means you are adding some quantity or even drop of water in it. It means you are giving it a room to spoil. Now at this point, if you can notice, our meat is getting fried, looking brown, really, really beautiful. So what I'll do now at this point is to chop some onions. Like this, and I will now get some portion of it and like this, I cut it big, and then I disintegrate the onions like this, and then I can add it inside of the pan that is getting my meat fried. I want to neutralize the smell of the meat, by combining it with the smell of onions so that it smells much better. Really much better. Okay. And of course, the second portion of the onions, I am also going to chop it. And this portion is going to be used with my rice. Okay, so I am cutting it like this. So while we do this, let us go for break and we will be right back. Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, you are watching Adam's Kitchen on Trust TV, where we are cooking rice, coconut rice, which is to be served with stew. So you can see that our meat has gotten fried, to the level that we really need. And also, if we come here, you can see that we have gotten the objective of putting this mixture of ingredients to boil. So now the water has evaporated significantly, and what I need to do now is that since my oil is here with my meat and it's really hot, I will now go ahead and put off my fire first so that it is easy for me to grab my pot. But yet the pot is really hot, which means I can make use of, some tissue, or rag or whatever you have available. So I will now get this and add it inside of my hot frying oil. You can see. Good. Here they will continue to fry alongside the meat. Okay, and then I can lower the fire, to avoid these bubbles from coming up and getting your hands burnt. I will now grab my rice. Let me see. Perhaps I will make use of 2 to 3 cups of the rice. Each cup here is about, plus or minus 0.5 kilogram. Put it here. And then I fetch some more. And then get my cup filled with rice. And then add it to the, inside of this bowl that has water already in it. Here I have 1 kilogram of rice, which I will wash absolutely well. My recommendation here is, when washing this rice with water, try to wash it really well to reduce, the starch so significantly, and also whatever preservatives they add, for storage purposes, to improve our health. We make sure, we get rid of that as the process of washing the, rice, or through the process of washing the rice. So you see here I am just mixing it, with with all my power, my might. You can see the color of the water is turning somehow white. So what I'll do now is I will pour away this water, and then I will add some more water in it and wash it for the second time. So if you achieve the objective within the 4th round of washing the rice, you don't have to do the 5th time, but if not, then you can do it up to 5 times. In fact, even if you achieve within the 3 rounds of washing, then fine. So the next thing that I am going to do is to transfer my rice into the pot. So I now have my rice transferred into the pot. But what I want here is, you can see the water is a bit much. So I'll reduce the water, and I'll make sure that the water is not too much above the rice. It has to be above the rice, but not that much. That's why we get better results. See, the water is not that much now, and then I can bring it here and then start my fire. I need to make sure that my fire is on, and then let me check my stew and see how far it is going, to make sure that it is not getting burnt. So with this, I will allow my rice to continue to boil until it reaches some level of boiling. Then I will add my coconut. While I do this, my stew is still getting fried here, but then as it gets fried, I will now go ahead and add salt, even though I added salt while I was frying the meat. But the quantity of the salt that I added before will not be sufficient for the stew. And also at this point, I will go ahead and add seasoning to it. Okay. While I do this, I will now go ahead and cover my pan. But remember, before I said I will keep this amount of oil for later use, right? You can see now I've used it in my rice, but also I'll pour the remain inside of this pot, so that I've increased the quantity of the oil that I need to fry my stew. And then I will get this covered to allow it to continue to get cooked or get fried until it's ready. So with this now, and with our rice here getting boiled, let us go for another break, and we will be right back. Welcome back. So it is now perhaps time for me to add my coconut. So the coconut is now being added exactly at a time when I think my rice is going to be ready within the next 5 minutes or less, at maximum 7 minutes. So with this, let me go ahead and check the progress that our stew is making. So you see it has progressed tremendously and it's getting really awesome, really beautiful. I can smell the fragrance, really getting awesome. So what we will do now is to allow the stew to continue to cook, but I will now leave it open so that the water can quickly evaporate and then it get fried, much faster. So what we will do now is we allow our stew to continue to fry for the next 20 to 25 minutes, maximum 30 minutes, and then it will be ready for serving. So our stew is doing really well, and you can see we have given it enough time to get fried, and here we are. See how beautiful our stew is looking, and let's see the result here. Perfect. Our rice is done really well, and I think we are ready now to serve our dish. So see how the rice is looking. It doesn't stick to each other. It's looking really well. When I make this rice, some people will be asking, is this basmati rice? I said no. It's only the process of cooking that makes it look such perfect. Okay, this is it. Let's see how many pieces of meat can we put here. And one very good thing about this stew is that you don't need to put much, when serving. You put a kind of small amount and it does the magic. See this small amount is actually enough for this dish. If you put anything more than this, it's going to be too much and it's going to be difficult to even eat because of the heat of the pepper. So this is our dish today, and I hope you were able to learn something really great from this dish, or I should say from this episode. So with this, we have now brought to an end this episode of making coconut rice with stew, and we hope to meet again in our next episode. Until then, bye bye for now.